Story 1. Around 10 years ago, I was using StumbleUpon and found a website outlining a mysterious expedition into a New England would where a portal to an alternate dimension allegedly exists. It mentioned a group that went into the portal and never returned, and something about an upcoming expedition to follow the first. The alternate dimension is in America much like our own but uncolonized and pristine. There were even schematics for a sort of chair that made the trip easier. The most curious part to me was the direction for finding the forest and the expedition group. Something to the effect of, if you found this website, you have either been searching for us for a long time or you are meant to find us according to the will of the universe. If you are to continue your journey, you will be able to solve the riddle hidden in this page. If you cannot solve this riddle, you are not meant to find us. I'd be lying if I said this didn't pique my curiosity, and I've been looking for the website ever since. I've attempted to figure it out with StumbleUpon, and I swear I bookmarked the page, but no such luck. Edit, thanks to a user. This appears to be an early internet hoax or game called Ong's Hat. A website has a mirror of the original pamphlet which I must have seen on a long-gone site. Story 2. Edit 2. Huge kudos to Bonjali for finding it and to the National Film Board for keeping it. This one comes from my mom, a Canadian or American, based in Ontario, so we got Northeastern United States channels, anti-smoking cartoon from the 70s or 80s, where a guy is smoking and says, "I should quit. This will be my last cigarette if I see a woman in a fur coat." And one immediately walks by. So he says, "Wearing green shoes." And one does, and then walking a dog on a diamond leash. Actually, it was a tiger. And then when a woman in a fur coat wearing green shoes walking a tiger on a diamond leash walks by, he crushes his cigarette up, and the tagline goes, "What will it take for you to quit? Been looking for it for ages and haven't been able to find it yet." Edit. Put in proper sequence and clarified that it could have been on Canadian or American television, based in Ontario. Story 3. The night that Tony Hawk did the first 900 back at the 1999 X Games, they played a music video-like thing with Feeder's The Perfect Day, showing all his misses and then finally the hit. It basically doesn't exist, and it bothers me. Story 4. A quote from a book about how to get a friend out of an abusive relationship. Question. My friend is in an abusive relationship, but she won't allow us to help her leave it. How do we safely get her out? Answer, you don't. You need to offer her the opposite of what her abuser is, choices. Allow her to socialize with whom she wishes, even her abuser, because he is probably isolating her. Forgive her for being indecisive because he may not be. Allow her to choose for herself even if you disagree with the choice because that's the opposite of what he is doing. She has to decide to leave by herself. Story 5. This old French website hosted pixel clip art versions of Disney characters. Because the outlines were single pixels wide and there was no compression, I could save them and recolor or edit them in Microsoft Paint easily. I basically made a whole drag-and-drop dress-up game in Paint using their Tinkerbell and Jasmine. I don't have much use for it these days, but I look for it occasionally just for nostalgia purposes. The last time I used that site, I must have been about 12. It's been well over a decade. Story 6. An Antique Roadshow episode where the appraiser asked the owner if they had cleaned a priceless Milanese helm. They responded, "I hit it with a little lemon pledge," and the appraiser visibly shivers. Story 7. There was a quote that I read on the title of a post that went something like, "Just because you've gone down 90% doesn't mean you can't go down another 90%. It's related to the stock market and can also apply to life." I've wanted to find out who said that for the longest time. Story 8. An electronic copy of the Machine Gun Dealer's Bible, which I bet a coworker years ago I could find. In an effort to prevent myself from owing him $5, I am still looking for it. Story 9. In 2003, there was a commercial for E-Trade where a CEO retires and hands the company over to his stoner brother grandson, whose entire press conference is him saying, "I'm so stoked." Everyone dumps the stock immediately, and the ad was about how quickly you could trade using E-Trade. My family loved that commercial to the point where we had shirts made that said, "I'm so stoked." I have looked through a lot of commercial compilations on YouTube, but I have still never found that ad. Story 10. Around 1999, I had borrowed a digital camera from school and took a lot of pictures of friends and things. It was back when people really didn't carry around cameras except for special activities. I remember uploading them to my brother's university Unix shell account to share with some people, but when he graduated and that account closed, I lost access and didn't have any backups. Really wish I still had those photos. Nobody has them. Story 11. I spent about 10 years searching for a woman I went to university with. I lived with her for 2 years and we were good friends. She was just not very good at being reachable. She was the sort of person who loses her phone every few months, so she just got a new one with a new number. Anyway, she had zero web presence, so she was practically impossible to track down. I figured maybe one day she would make herself known. Well, one day she did. Turns out she got married, had a young child, and lived about 3 hours away. We spoke on Facebook for quite a while, and I thought I'd see if she wanted to meet up sometime. And then she died. It turns out she just made a Facebook profile to contact her old friends one last time and see how they were doing. She never even told me she was ill. Sometimes, she appears in my dreams and we have a chat there. Story 12. I tried to find the browser games I played when I was a kid. Some of them no longer exist. Story 13. A Reddit comment described a person who didn't know they had schizophrenia until they moved. In their apartment, they had a noisy neighbor, a radio that kept playing in another unit, and could hear their upstairs neighbor constantly walking across the floor. However, when they moved to a standalone house, they could still hear all the noises from the apartment. I remember the phrase insidious schizophrenia in there somewhere. Very haunting and well written, but I haven't been able to find it again. Story 14. This video I found on Vimeo shows these guys working at a bomb shipping facility. Apparently, a customer requested a video of the process of assembling their new order for shipping. These two guys created a great video with them dancing to Maniac by Michael Cimbello throughout it. I'd love for anyone who can find what I'm talking about. Story 15. An American movie I saw as a kid about a girl in the country and her cousin, a guy who was in a wheelchair and refused to go out. It might have been from the 1990s, maybe the 1980s. There were lots of golden hour scenes and bright photography. Edit. It was primo baby. Thank you. Informal wish. Story 16. All through school, they taught us you can never truly delete anything online, and even if you delete it, someone can still find it. While this may be true if you seriously anger a master computer hacker, for the average person, this claim is completely false. I went on a few dates with a girl a few summers ago, and I really liked her. All of a sudden, though, she just vanished. Her Snapchat was deactivated. She completely disappeared off Facebook and Instagram. Everything. I tried texting her a couple of times, but she never responded. I got a little worried because she's not the type of girl to ghost like that, and she struggles with suicidal thoughts and mental health issues, so you can see why this might be concerning. Since she wasn't responding and I didn't really know any of her friends to ask about her, I went full social media investigative mode to try and at least find out what happened to her. I figured if she had harmed herself, there would be something online about it. Well, I didn't find anything, literally no evidence that this girl even existed besides a picture of her on her brother's Facebook page. I didn't even know she had a brother. He was just the only person that appeared when you searched her name on Facebook. Googling her name also yielded no results. Since I could literally find nothing about her online, I figured she had just blocked me for some reason and eventually gave up. I tried searching her on Facebook a couple of times over the next year or so, but nothing ever came up. This past summer, she popped up in my Snapchat friend suggestions, and honestly, it was such a relief to finally see some evidence that she was alive. I added her, not expecting her to add me back, but she did, and she actually messaged me. We met up again, went for a hike, and grabbed dinner together to catch up. It turns out she was going through some rough times and didn't want to talk to anyone. So she disappeared, but she's doing much better now. Things didn't work out with us romantically again, but she's still one of my closest friends now. Story 17. Around 12 to 13 years ago, I got into StumbleUpon, which was a Firefox extension that added a button to your screen that took you to a random page that someone marked as interesting. Once, I found a Flash animation that portrayed a recreation of a white hat hacker doing a penetration test on a web application. The whole thing was a Linux command shell without any graphical user interface. It started with an internet relay chat where someone asked the hacker to look into his application and sent him a URL and another URL for the source code. After a sped-up 3 minutes of curl, grep, and secure shell, the hacker built a command line script that could pull any username and email from the site. Never found it again. Thanks to the user for finding the video. It's called 0 Day by Millworm. Story 18. My grandpa used to have the screensaver or idle screen on his computer that was a little painter or window washer guy who went around the screen cleaning and painting. As a kid, I would watch it for hours and thought it was super relaxing. I'm pretty sure it was light blue, and the little guy was wearing all white. I'm not sure about any other details. Story 19. During some in-depth discussion on the Lord of the Rings lore, the conversation turned somewhere deep in the appendices, or in some additional notes of Tolkien's, to the future of Middle-earth, specifically of the hobbits, hundreds of years after Elisar's reign. He, as you may remember, designates the Shire a protected area that men cannot enter. As time passes, these rules are gradually forgotten. The men harass the hobbits, forcing them to become more secretive and reclusive. Their culture suffers. They forget their music and books, their cookery and their stories, and become like animals, hunted by cruel men for sport. The passage ended with the notion that Hobbitkin had not been seen for many years, though there was a chance they could be deep in hiding, or that they had forgotten what they were. It was depressing, but this discussion took place online in about 2009 to 2010, and I haven't since been able to find the source. I recall wanting a source and being given one, and I followed the links and confirmed it myself, reading the depressing passages although not committing the exact text to memory. Was it a Lord of the Rings appendix? A separate letter detailing the Hobbit's sad future? Could even have been Christopher Tolkien's musings. I honestly don't know. I have wanted to refer back to it in the years since, but as I say, I can't find it. The only line I remember with clarity was the hunted by cruel men for sport. Story 20. The full series of Pirates of Dark Water. Edit. For those posting torrent links, I appreciate it, but I'm on mobile as my laptop is dead on arrival. Edit 2. Apparently, I can torrent on my phone, so I will have to get an SD card with a lot of storage and check this out as soon as possible. Edit 3. Wow. Thanks everybody. This is officially my highest upvoted comment ever. Story 21. A flash animation video of O.J. Simpson playing golf and killing small animals, talking about how the liberal media has tarnished his name. Tigger Zarajk has found it. Please shower him with fake internet points and coins. For visibility, Tigger Zarajk happy to help. I just love Flash, and people are working hard to preserve old Flash content. I will take this opportunity to share the Flash Games Postmortem John Cooney at the Game Developers Conference 2017. If you care about preserving Flash content, you can support Ruffle, an open-source Flash player emulator, which Newgrounds will soon use to allow playing old Flash games in the browser without Flash Player. Story 22. A desktop wallpaper I had back in 2009 to 2010. It was some digital art of a female with her face sticking halfway through a vertical waterline with goldfish floating about. Her hand was also in the frame, and she had thin gold hoop bracelets on. It was such a dreamy piece of art. I miss it. Story 23. There was a song that played on the radio in 2004 on alternative rock station 105.7 The Point in St. Louis. The song was either called Unchained or the band was called Unchained. I heard it maybe a couple of times. I've never, ever been able to find the song again. Any band called Unchained has never put out the song, nor has any song called Unchained been the right one. It's frustrating. If I do hear it again, now 15 years later, I am not completely sure I will recognize it. Ginger's Girl found it. Thank you. Story 24. Hello. This girl posted to Reddit years ago about having to be hospitalized because she used a spicy sausage to masturbate with. I have no idea how to find that. Story 25. There was a VH1 show called Rock of Ages in the late 90s or early 2000s. They filmed one episode in my house, and my two oldest kids are in the episode. I have never been able to find it online, and I know it aired because we watched it when it did. Google search brings nothing. It's like the whole series didn't exist. Story 26. An extremely baffling video I saw maybe 7 to 8 years ago that paired Daisy Duck and Jaffer together set to Love the Way You Lie. I just need to know that exists and wasn't some fever dream. Story 27. I don't know if anyone will be able to find this, but it's worth a try. Sometime around 6 years ago, I was hanging out with friends, and they decided to put on a horror movie. I was almost certain it was on Netflix, but I could be wrong. The movie was an Asian horror, but I can't remember which, though I think it was Japanese. The plot was interesting in that it was about an actress who gets a role in a movie about a real-life murder that had made the news years ago. The actress plays the girl that was murdered, but she is great at the role because she was the girl that was murdered in her past life, and she's reincarnated. So creepy events and memories flood back as she's filming this movie. Anyway, I've looked up everything I could and have found absolutely nothing. So I'm starting to think the movie doesn't exist. Someone tell me it does. Edit. Thank you guys. It's called Reincarnation 2005. You ever have a vague memory of something and thought it might have just been a dream, but then discover a video or pictures of it later, and it feels surreal? That's how I just felt watching the trailer.